All right. Hello and welcome to another Wednesday live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Miranda. We've got with me my co-host, Painter Flo.
Hello.
Disembodied voiceover on the side. You can't see him. And we have a special guest tonight, Miss Erica, joining us from Tried and True Warmachine, which is part of the Delaware community.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My
Are you
name's
introducing me?
thanks.
Okay, I was here.
No, you're done.
So that's my first time. Hi, everybody. My name is Erica. I am with Delaware Warmachine. I am a podcast host for Tried and True Warmachine, as well as the video editor for our YouTube channel. On behalf of my community, to everybody, we're super excited to, I'm super excited to be here and to talk about all the exciting news. Locally, I'm a TO. I run some local steamrollers and tournaments. I'm a co-TO for the Susquehanna Scuffle, which is a tournament we do out of Philadelphia, and I am one of the lead TOs for all Warmachine events at Nova Open in DC.
Yes, we got to hang out at Nova. It was wonderful. And I got to watch her fight her husband. It was great. Still working on the video. Things happened, but it's still there. Awesome.
Hey,
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Miss Erica. Big news in the Warmachine world, right? So it's a bit of timely news, I suppose. I mean, the thing we're talking about tonight is the fact that Steamforged Games now has purchased the IP of Warmachine and like Iron Kingdoms and Warcaster and P3 Paints, as someone mentioned. Lock and Load, I noticed, like a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, like la-di-da-di, everybody coming on over.
Yeah.
Almost everybody. I think Monpoc and Level 7 didn't come over.
Yes, that's right. Those were the only two that didn't. So, those will be just developed separately. The kids got separated. They're off to new homes now. But yeah. So, I mean, that's raised a bunch of questions in the community, although Steamforged has already put out some statements. This happened on, June 3rd was the announcement, and then just a few days after that, they kind of came out with another announcement of, okay, we're going to be going this direction, like the Mark IV rules. Nothing's changing with that. You're still getting your app updates. You're still doing all that. But you mentioned that there are, tournaments and stuff coming up for Warmachine, right?
Yeah, so I'm out with the Northeast meta, and for those who might not know, the game is surging in our area. A lot of steamrollers sell out very quickly. The NJSOB meta, I think they have a sold-out steamroller that they're hosting at the Gilded Raven this weekend. We have almost a sold-out 20-man tournament right after that. And our Susquehanna Scuffle sold out within 12 hours for team captain tickets when we opened those. So the game's doing really well in this area. If I can, to plug the Warmachine Community Finder for players who are coming back to the game, or if you're looking for to start up a new meta, like a looking for group kind of a thing, we have a Warmachine Community Finder, which has kind of blown up since it was launched in October of last year. And I have to give a shout out to Dan and Paul. They've done a lot of the lion's share for that. And I think we have over 200 metas being represented on the map. So if you're looking to get back into the game, it's a great networking tool for community members to link up.
So wait a minute, what's it called again?
So if you Google Warmachine Community Finder, I can post it in the chat too.
Maybe. Send it to me on Discord and I can put it in there because
okay.
YouTube likes to
block
everything.
And yeah, that's fair.
Warmachine.
Yep. So that's the site, and you can do inquiries if you're trying to locate a group. I've actually used it, so I travel a lot for work, and when I have time off, I like hanging out at local game stores. So it's been a great way to find other Warmachine players across the country.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, yeah, there we go. So it's sites.google. Let me just share that for those of you wanting to check it out. For the fans in here who both remember and miss dear old Warmachine. It is alive and well over there. It's not so much over here. But I'm hoping that will be something that changes, with this change over. Because I don't know if you saw, I don't know if the Northeast, I guess, got as impacted as like the West, Southwest, and West side of the country. But when Mark III came out, it seemed like a jumping off point for a ton of players. And the reasons for that were, there were a bunch of them. People didn't think that the rules changed enough to warrant staying. They were already teetering on leaving. Like, it had problems. But with Steamforged coming in, I mean, I'm wondering if they will be able to get back into game stores, because I think that's key to getting back to being in people's metas again, is just getting back into game stores. You have game store stock over there where you're at, right?
Mm-hmm. So I guess full disclosure, transparency, I have not played a Steamforged game before. I do remember seeing Guild Ball, and not just in game stores, but I remember seeing it in comic book shops. And it was just, I don't know, I've seen their stuff more than I've seen PP stuff in stores.
Hold on, Erica, I don't know if you can hear me, but your audio just cut out.
Uh-oh.
Why?
I can still hear her audio on the broadcast.
Really? Oh, then I cut out. Okay, got it. Carry on. Keep saying what you're saying. I'll
okay.
Yeah, that's what's been happening to me. Gotcha. Occasionally, my thing will cut out, and I just restart it.
Gotcha. Gosh, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, Guild Ball. So seeing their stuff, and their board games are really cool, too. We have a friend that's very much into the Dark Souls board game, and their miniatures are pretty sick.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't really have any experience playing their actual games. Well, I guess now Warmachine is technically...
now part of the Steamforged.
their baby now, yeah. So I play a Steamforged game now.
They do make the Dungeons and Doggies, or...
They do. They make so I was looking up their website earlier. I have played a Steamforged game before. It was the Resident Evil 2 board game. Played it on Media Glitch years ago. And then I haven't played any of the others. I don't typically play board games. But they did play Dark Souls, Monster Hunter.
I've never played
any of those. Okay. And then, they have a huge RPG collection. And, they do the Dungeons and Doggies and Cats and Catacombs, like RPGs with little chibi pets that you run around as the adventuring party. Cool. Right? So,
yeah, Yeah, I was going to say, their minis, at least for the Guild Ball teams that I saw, they were very unique and flavorful, which was really cool. That did stick with me from that game, even though I didn't play it. So their minis are definitely, they're pretty neat.
I'm just going to keep losing my connection, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that is something I would say is really important for any game, is for them to have just very interesting models to, go back to.
Yeah, I'm hoping that will, which is actually another thing that got discussed, and we can kind of try to bring it up in some sort of structure here, but I know not a lot. I hear online, so I don't know how representative of real life this is, but I hear online a lot of complaints that the aesthetic direction of Warmachine, when they went into the future, it's not as steampunk feeling, the aesthetics changed. There's some curiosity as to whether or not Steamforged will revert back to any of that. I kind of doubt they will. They seem to want to keep the direction it's already going.
I will say that something, so I, just speaking for myself, so just Erica, Warmachine player, I've been playing this game for about 2 decades now. I'm a Mark 1 player way back in the day. I'm super excited and optimistic, and I will say since the Mark IV launch, something that we haven't gotten yet that we saw for the first time with this big announcement last week was completed Mark IV models. Not a 3D render, not a picture, although those are cool too, but actual painted models on a table with, like a set almost. And I think that's the first time we've seen new models from this edition be advertised that way. And that was super exciting for me as a player because I got to see Kane, who's looking awesome. Like, I've seen my husband, right? I love men with beards. He looks sick. The poses are great. And that got me excited as a Warmachine player.
Nice. Did you end up reading the lore with Kane, like all about his daughter and all the all the adventures he had with Kane's Hellbringers.
Oh, the Hellslinger. So Rick's probably gonna hate me for this. I haven't read a lot of the Signar
Like,
stuff.
even that was real interesting.
Which one?
The one where he was sent to kill him.
Oh, yeah. Where he's going after Magnus? No, after Julius. Yeah.
Magnus
that's right.
helped him.
Yeah. So you haven't read a lot of lore, you said, Erica?
Not
Signar?
for the Signar stuff. I'm trying to get what I can from the Mark IV thing. So funny story, when I started getting into Warmachine, I had joined the service like a year right after. And when I got to medic school, it was a big deal because we were able to have books that weren't the Bible or like technical manuals. And I think the second Hordes book came out with other casters. And I remember when my family came to graduation, like it was important for me to get that book because I was so excited to see what was coming out, like what I was missing, and reading the lore from there was really cool. I need to get back on it. I need to get better at it. I don't like reading stuff on my phone. I miss the print media. I get why they're not doing it anymore. But I do miss actually having a book.
No, I hate reading stuff on my phone.
Agreed. Like,
Yeah, I have less sympathy for that. Like, yes, I understand there's a certain cost thing to it, but one of the things about war games, it is an analog format. And you could argue Warmachine with its hyper-lethality and, being a game of millimeters a lot of times. But it's still analog. If you really cared about, that hyper-realism or that hyper degree of accuracy, you would just have a video game. But part of the beauty of it is it being analog. And so, yeah, I like having cards. I like
It's
having
more tactile than a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know
books
probably
are more
not.
tactile than your phone.
Well, it's nice to unplug too because a lot of us. So now I work at a desk and I'm looking at computer screens all day. So it would be nice just to unplug, and that's part of game night too. Is getting out and hanging out with friends in person. It would be nice just to completely unplug and have cards. The print function I'm hoping gets revised later down the line. We'll see what happens.
It did finally come out. I was surprised almost when that happened because I'm like, well, you've been promising it for a long time, and then it came out, but I couldn't. It didn't seem like it worked very well on the desktop version.
So there's some community tools that are out there. I think the Warmachine Reddit has a link to some community-made card creators, which is more in that traditional format versus what you see now with the desktop app. I think it's like a PDF page, which is cool.
It's
but the
at least
cards,
something.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I mean, it's one of the things GW ended up picking up from it. It's like, oh yeah, how about cards? And you're like, yes, please, like data slate cards. Just no matter how fast an app is, and admittedly the GW app is really good for that, it's still faster to pick up a card and look at it. It might not be faster to always rifle back and forth through rules or whatever, but again, that sort of analog feel is you don't want to be on your phone because the second you pick that up, you're going to be like, okay, well, here's this rule. Oh, I got this notification, or somebody sent me a cat video. Like, it's just so much prone to distraction. And like the point of it, to me at least, is unplugging. It sounds like kind of the point of it for you is that too. That's why, fine, if you want to have the technology there, I'm not going to say no, you can't, but it being the only option does make it feel very undercutting of maybe the point of it for some people.
Well, and I think it's also very useful to, I don't know, I just like being able to kind of glance over at my opponent's side of the table where his cards are and just kind of get a sense of what warjacks have what damage on them. So as I'm figuring out what my plan's going to be, or even when I'm watching him maneuver, and it's like, oh, what's he doing there? Oh, okay, what's this? And you start, because you don't have a lot of time, especially in a tournament, you want to be formulating what you're going to do in return, like as they're moving. And so being able to just kind of like glance over and see how much health things have and see how much, including even like rules that react to, a counter charge, oh, don't want to counter. Oh, he's moving his jack. You want to glance over at how many hit points his jack has left to see if you even want to mess with that counter charge or wait until a different model moves over or something. There's just a lot to just, instead of being like, hey, wait a minute, and then let me get my phone. Did I pair with your phone so that I have your cards too? While we're, it's just, there's so much to it. It's just like, just give me the cards.
Yeah, if I can just advocate for maybe a reason why we don't have the old decks as before is, so this is an evolving game, right? We have our big January update. We saw a mid-year update with that invasion scenario. Thank you for changing invasion, by the way. So if models have to get changed, and I don't know if we're going to get into the weeds on this, but there are some models that are really shaking up the meta right now, two in particular. So if they were to get, a mid-year update, and it's just the game's constantly evolving. So you would have to constantly get new decks and cards printed. So I think a good compromise is having that print option to be able to, be able to update your stuff in real time.
I already know Tommy's answer to that. He's like, you just make the rules right the first time.
That is, I've played war games since the 90s, and somehow we managed to survive,
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because I put out a little poll yesterday, just sort of for fun, just which version of Warmachine was everyone's favorite. Mark 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Company of Iron. And 57%, I believe, last I checked, consistently, out of 130-ish votes, came in at Mark II. And Mark II had huge balance problems. It had crazy power swells, but it also had things like rec markers and no pre-measuring, the crunchy things about it. It also had the biggest community. I think Mark II was definitely the heyday.
Mark II is when they were what would you call it, the most dangerous contender for 40K.
Well, yeah.
That's when they were really growing and really grabbing a lot of that
people
market
knew
share.
their names. They had a huge
base.
tournament hall presence at Adepticon.
I remember going to Adepticon, and Warmachine had their own room, and the room wasn't a small room either. It was large and a lot of people playing, and 40K was bigger, but you could see them gaining.
Yeah, no, it was interesting, and that is for having a lot of problems, because you obviously, I think, want to try and get a perfectly balanced game as much as you can, but I don't know that that's always the magic to keeping a community. I mean, I think GW proves that perfectly well.
Yes.
No kidding.
So
decades of highly unbalanced gameplay.
Yeah. So I missed most of Mark II. So I played Mark I, left with the army right towards the tail end of Mark I into Mark II. So I ended up selling. I had a full Circle Army FA at that time. Ended up selling it before I moved. From what I've heard from Mark II, and with that high level of competitiveness, it wasn't a very welcoming community when it came to new players, like somebody that was trying to get in the game. This is just stories that I've heard from other members of my community and online.
I'll corroborate that for you 100%. You're not wrong.
They're just getting tabled, and Warmachine kind of had this reputation for being this cutthroat game. And I don't know what was going on with GW at the time. All right, you guys, I'm like a Mordheim player, okay? I'm not like a space person. I love Mordheim. I was like, if anything happens to Warmachine, I'm going back to my first love. But I think knowing that, especially with some of the things that happen in Mark III, I think the communities kind of self-acknowledge that and recognize that. And it's a very different, welcoming space now. That kind of energy.
Specifically.
Yeah, Mark IV. Yeah. And even towards the end of Mark III.
I think that largely a lot of the hyper-competitive players from Mark II, I think a lot of them left when Mark III
they ran off to Guild Ball.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. They ran off to Guild Ball, right? But I think that a lot of that, I mean, it's a lot of people have heard me talk about it, but it's the 4-move checkmate. When you play a game of chess with somebody, and then there's that 4-move checkmate that they show off because you didn't guard just right, and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that's possible, huh? And then you just set the pieces back and you go play the next game. The problem is Warmachine has about 400 4-move checkmates. And so, I think a lot of that drew a lot of the, and I'll call them out, I guess, the kind of the Magic the Gathering crowd. I know a lot of the tournament players for Warmachine and Mark II came from Magic the Gathering. And a lot of them liked those kind of gotcha rules interactions. And so I think that's part of, a lot of that didn't go away with Mark III. And I think that's what got a lot of the casual side to go away. Because a lot of them kind of wanted to push their dudes forward and kill some guys. And they didn't expect to win, but they expected to kill some stuff. And then you've got a lot of players that are just like, yeah, you get to kill nothing of mine, and cast or kill, boom, you're dead.
Yeah.
And I think
Oh,
that's where a
including
lot of
like,
that.
what was it? Lilith, I think, could do a turn 1 assassination at
Could
one
she?
point. And
Yeah.
if she got first turn, like,
No, it's that. I think it's that mentality and those types of rules that really kind of hurt a lot of the player base. You know what I mean? Like a lot of more casual players would just sort of back away from the table slowly. You know, they're like, okay, maybe it's not for me.
we had that experience quite a few times with the locals. And I mean, New Mexico was never like a particularly big like tournament scene. If we wanted to play tournaments, when Feast of Blades was still a thing, like people would go up there to Colorado, or you'd go just out of state to somewhere else. So the Midwest really loved Warmachine.
Yeah,
Like,
they did.
that was like where I understood the competitive side to be. And yeah, you definitely had that problem. Like the reputation for Warmachine players in Mark II was they were the a-holes of the gaming community. It was all they ever played. They didn't play anything else. There was no casuals. Casuals are not welcome. And Mark III didn't do anything, as far as I could tell, to really like diffuse that. And only after like a lot of those competitive people abandoned the game, which is what it looks like. Maybe not everyone had, but now there's like enough humility almost, or that people can kind of come back to what's left of it and see the new rules and actually start enjoying it kind of anew. So it
We'll
is.
start playing friendly games again.
Well, yeah. Well, your narrative games that you were hosting at Nova were such a brilliant idea. I loved that. You had GMs for the table, like people asking if they could do some special thing. Like, how cool was that? Like, that was amazing. And it just made it so much more fun and gave it an RPG element.
Yeah, I mean, at the
Yeah,
end
I
of
think
the day,
height
right?
of it was whenever, what was it? We saw that photograph of one of the cons that we didn't go to, but it was just like it looked like a dinner, like a banquet was going to be served. Like there was no terrain on the table. It was just a bunch of
commenting on
flat
the place,
terrain,
that's
and then the little squares and circles and rectangles, and like it was the whole table was 2-dimensional. Like it was terrible looking.
So, funny story about that. When our community inherited Nova, we were sharing the same space as the Lord of the Rings guys. And I don't know if you've seen their tables online, but these tables come with papers. Like, they're certified tables. They are in scale. They have little feasts inside their towers. They're insane. And then here we're rolling up with
amazing.
these. They're beautiful. I love them. And their community is really awesome, too, if you're looking for some terrain tips. And I remember looking at the tables with my brother, and it's like we have to do something. We can't be next to Lord of the Rings looking crazy. Like we just can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's from talking with the Lord of the Rings guys. They were saying, hey, for a big convention like this is a decade and a half of labor and love. So you don't have to go all out. So a realistic goal for our team was, okay, let's start turning tables, maybe 10 tables a year, right? Like that's a realistic goal and go from there. We've posted some pictures on our Discord and our Facebook of my brother, again, is really taking a huge lead on this. We're recreating the town of Five Fingers, and right now it spreads across 3 districts.
Wow.
All 3-dimensional. We even have a sewer system, you guys. Narrative's gonna be a lot of fun. And it's been a
back
huge.
to your Mordheim days.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe.
Maybe just like a little bit. But it's been a huge community effort too, and I really have to thank members of Delaware Warmachine and the hobbyists in the area, because it's really everybody is coming together to help knock out this table for Nova. So thank you guys.
Yeah, no, I love what you did at Nova. It made Warmachine so interesting. In fact, enough to that I would hear people walk by and be like, "That's Warmachine." Like, there's
Yeah, we
terrain
were
on
getting
it.
that
What the
all
heck?
weekend. And
Or even
honestly, like,
there's a giant dragon over here. What is
That
that?
was so cool. And you know what? To Privateer's credit, they did do that. They had the big wall.
it
They
was
had the dragon.
Really cool.
It's just like best kept secret ever. Like the player base that's not going to these events doesn't know about that.
yeah, and the other thing too is our players and war gamers in general, we take a lot of pride and love in our armies, right? So I have a Grimkin army that's full FA, including the units nobody would take doubles of. But I painted probably 90% of that army. So it's such like for us as TOs, it's a real honor to be able to give a beautiful play space for our players to be able to put their models on our tables and be like, damn, my army looks good on here.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to take pictures. We do a photo challenge at Nova where you just like take a cool battle picture of your army and win a prize for the weekend. So it's really an honor to be able to provide that for our community and be able to represent our game at such a national stage and be able to get that recognition. So yeah, it looks good, guys. 3D terrain makes everything look a lot better, and the gameplay is a lot more. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, yeah.
We're pushing around little plastic war dollies, you guys. We're rolling dice. Like,
right. It's art.
Give them
Just
some
go all
houses.
in, right? Just commit. You're already playing with toys. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it puts you in that world. And I think it's healthy because it puts you in the world of the Iron Kingdoms, hopefully, instead of the world of, okay, do I know all the rules and am I going to, like, it hopefully discourages some of the most cutthroat. And not to say you can't have crunchy games. Like, I respect people who want to have that kind of challenge, but if that's the only mindset, it ended up being really bad for the community. So it can't be the only mindset. I think the proof has shown there. Thomas Grable comments in the comments, by the way, that he was excited he got to play you at Adepticon, and I know he does beautiful painting.
He was my
jobs,
first
too.
game. He was my first game at
So
Narrative. We
Tyrant's
were
on the
fighting
field
off on
here
the
says
on the
4D
side.
terrain or nothing.
4D terrain or nothing? Oh goodness.
So does that mean that it
Hey,
has to be
Tyrants.
moving?
Hey,
Like it
everybody.
has to move through time as well?
Yeah. So, holy cow, that would be crazy.
The other thing too, even we talk about our hyper competitive community members and the Mark II fam. I do have to give them credit for some of the growth of the game and for the success of it. Because honestly, without that arm of the community, the traveling conventions and things like that, I don't know if we would be in a Warmachine Mark IV environment, or I guess just Mark IV now.
Oh yeah. Like it's the steamroller events that are selling out more than like other types of events. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then even with the talk on balance, because we kind of hit on that, and I love doing this, Longshanks is a great tool. I definitely advocate it for TOs. Get your events on there so we can follow along and see what's happening. You can take pretty much any tournament from anywhere in the world, and your top 5 armies are always going to be different, I find. So it's not an environment where you've got 1 or 2 armies just stomping on everybody. And it's not just prime Mark IV armies, but some legacy guys are heavy hitters as well. So
That's exciting
kudos
to hear.
kudos to PP and their team for developing this this rule set and wonderful armies.
Yeah, I mean, and that was another big feels bad, right, with the change, was a lot of people feeling like they had lost their armies and just, well, it's all trash and I can't play it. And from my understanding, as Privateer did go through and give like a final set of rules to all of the models, and then they moved their selected ones into a Mark IV rule set and left the other ones in Legacy. Is that what happened? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, so everything is playable. There's every model is playable in the game. There are 2 modes of game, Prime and Unlimited. Prime is the recognized, balanced, competitive format. So you're going to have more list restrictions with your legacy stuff, but you're going to be able to select models from a decent catalog, right? So Unlimited is everything, including the crazy Riot Quest stuff. Like,
oh, wow.
everybody can play everything. Yep, la-di-da-di, everybody can play in Unlimited. So with these legacy armies, and I can say as somebody that owns thousands of dollars of legacy armies, I'm talking FA Khador, like OG Khador, Grimkin, I have a Pharaoh army, Gators, Minions, Riot Quest. So yes, I'm very, very invested in this game. But I acknowledge that the SKU bloat, it's not attainable. It's not good for stores to be able to have that. I don't know how you balance a game with thousands and thousands of models. Like, can you do that? Can you do that cleanly?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because you're seeing GW retire models now, either quietly or loudly in the case of Age of Sigmar, where some 80-ish models got retired out completely.
I was surprised that Stormcast army got retired because that was like their poster child for AOS, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they have AOS 2 coming out, or whatever the next edition, all new AOS, whatever it is, new AOS coming out this summer. And so I suspect that they're just wanting to re-roll out new whatever that Stormcast is going to be. So part of it might just be a marketing, like, we want you to buy all this new stuff instead. But Infinity also, they've always told you they'll retire models out, is my understanding. So that does seem to be becoming part of like the gaming scene, unless you play like BattleTech or older games. Although Malifaux has retired models too, right, Flo?
They've, I think they killed like
They kill off Lilith,
5
I know.
models.
Not very many, though.
Not like entire crews. A lot of the crews are still available. It was just the leaders that died, as far as I know.
I thought like as the story advanced in there, they were changing some of the crews out. Is that not correct?
Well, the thing with Malifaux is that as long as they are still part of your faction, you can usually hire them on.
Oh, okay.
You don't always have to
okay.
have the same crew. It was just the leaders, you get certain perks, you get certain henchmen that will be cheaper if you put them together with that leader, or a totem that will come free with that leader.
Okay, gotcha. So it's a model making company, right? And so I can see where it naturally would become very difficult after you have Warmachine had to have had over 1,000 different models, right?
Yeah, and they can't make most of that stuff anymore because they're old molds. They're either destroyed, they're lost, or they got stolen by other people.
Yeah.
So I think I've gone through edition changes before, and I think as players and members of the community, we have to acknowledge some of the that transitional time and what comes with that and what that looks like realistically, right? So when Mark IV was launched, I remember talking to Andy, and our immediate community is it's probably going to take a year and a half for this thing to like come online and feel like something. It almost felt like a limbo, but I mean, I don't know legacy, and this might not be a popular opinion. This is just Erica, okay? I don't know if the legacy stuff is going to make it into whatever, future edition if one does come out for this game. Like, I don't think it's long for this world.
Yeah, Steamforged going forward.
Right, because they can't make this stuff anymore, And again, you have to balance this huge catalog with all this new stuff coming out. Like we've been telling people that have been coming to the game, like they'll just borrow our stuff, like wait for a Mark IV army to come out that is your fancy.
Okay.
And just borrow and proxy before that. We're not pushing people to legacy. We just don't see, And I get like people love their armies and the time and money spent into it. It's such an investment. And I see that kind of as my catalyst for my community and being able to interact with them and have Delaware Warmachine. And I guess I don't necessarily need those old models to remind me of that going forward, because it's a new edition, new game, right? And there's things that you can do with your models. So my brother, to help honor some of our favorite warcasters, is he took warcasters and made them look like statues, and we use those as terrain on our tables. So we're able to still, see our Vlads and our strikers on the table, and it's kind of a way to honor our footsteps from the past, so to speak.
Well, and I wonder if that was part of the Iron Kingdom's purchase, right? Like, not, if you can play you could presumably use any of those models in the RPG to represent your own character. So yeah, if you would want to have like Mr. Captain Shoulder Pads Vlad running around or on his horse, like, fine, have at it.
I do wonder, like with the role-playing game, what era they're putting it in. If it's modern year, and if so, they're really going to need to flesh out what is happening in the world in modern year, because it seems not very clear.
So the Strangelight Workshop RPG module is going to be kickstarting, I believe, at the end of the month. That was already scheduled, and that's continuing, is what Steamforged said.
So wait, Strangelight, though, that's before Orgoth. In fact, they were the ones investigating Grimkin.
Yeah, they investigated all kinds of things, including the Grimkin.
And so, does that mean it's setting it before the Orgoth?
No.
Or, I'm sorry, not Orgoth, the Infernals.
I don't think
So is that before the Infernals have even shown up?
No, because the RPG has already established itself in the future post post-Infernal, but I believe they said that they were actually able to drive the Infernals away. So I don't think it was a whole henge hold scroll kind of thing. It's a bit of an alternate universe. But
Wait,
after the Infernals had caused a lot of damage still.
Yeah, so I ran before House Callus was announced. It was actually kind of cool. I was running a Seeker, Shadow the Seeker campaign. I think that's the name of the IKRPG.
That was one of the new modules. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first time we got to see this new Dusk, like what Ios was, because the army wasn't out by then. So for those playing the IKRPG, we kind of got a little sneak peek of what was coming down the line, which was really cool, narratively speaking. And so once these characters start coming out that you get to play, it's like, for me, I'm a House Callus player. I'm wearing my shirt tonight.
Got my
it was
flags
cool,
representing
like.
here.
Yeah, it was cool to read the, and have that understanding of like what was going on, and being able to have played that module prior to that was fun.
Oh yeah, that must have been kind of a fun reveal for you then.
Yeah. Yes, Spinball. I love my spooky ghosts.
I do love them, Grimkin. Oh, well, I guess you have the Eldritch now is what they all became. Kind of weird story choices. Personally, my favorite era was Doug Seacat. I loved the world building he did, and I don't know. Henchhold Scrolls might have been more bearable if I didn't have to read it on. Twitter.
Yeah, I don't
wanted
do
to take the miniature
Twitter
for him and like mod it where he's just holding a cell phone, like he's just sitting there tweeting while he's wandering around.
My goodness.
I couldn't get into the Henchhold stuff just because it was on Twitter.
Yeah, they finally compiled it all into a website that was like multiple pages, and that was really how I caught up on it, because Twitter is no way to read anything long format. It is not for, smart thoughts. That's not what Twitter's designed for. Or creative thoughts, maybe. I don't know. A little bit of info on Steamforged. They celebrated their 10-year anniversary this year, so they've been around for 10 years. They, I guess, started in 2014. Definitely big gamer nerds. So as the founder and co-founder, around 40, I don't know, the internet said around 47 employees for that company as of 2024, and they've had really good revenues over the last 3 years, about 50% growth in their revenues each year for the last 3 years. So this purchase does seem to come at a time when they're on an upswing. A big part of that upswing is getting licenses to known IPs and making board games about it, right? Like their board game seems to be their biggest aspect of them, followed closely by RPGs, and then like war games they support 3. And there's some mixed feelings about Guild Ball because it got dropped, and I guess now it's going to be getting re-released. So I don't know if that's a turn to say the company is now going to say, okay, we're going to give a more concerted focus to war games and really support that, or what. So that's kind of a big time will tell aspect on that. And the other thing, I wanted to go over real quick all of the IPs they purchased. So they got Warmachine and Iron Kingdoms. We know that. I mentioned that. They also got the P3 paint line, which made a lot of people really happy because P3 has had problems being available. It's been a really good paint line. I've used them. I mean, Flo, you've used them.
I've used them too.
Well,
My Grimkin is P3 paint, most of it. So yeah, I miss that paint line.
Right, really good coverage. Not a huge fan of the caps, but all the paint lines, man, they always have this weird angle on that. But whatever, the paints were really good. And in Europe, they just basically were not available at all. So P3 now being owned by Steamforged, which is a UK-based company. I'm curious to see how the supply chain will shift, because all of the support concerns of them being able to have availability in the UK theoretically should get resolved, because whatever the infrastructure Steamforged has for releasing and distributing their products theoretically should, apply here and allow them to fulfill that back order. I know one of the big concerns people mentioned was how are they going to handle the supply chain issues, the strain on the 3D printer format that was used before, which, I think to some extent will be going forward. I know there's some talk about them using high-impact polystyrene for starter boxes, which seems smart.
I think that's smart.
And they also actually...
Yeah, I do, yeah.
There was also a brief mention of them using... maybe allowing STLs for some starter models. They're going to do that with Guild
which I
Ball.
also think is very smart.
Yeah, we've talked about that a few years ago, which might help offset some of the feels bad of the price point, because there's a lot of complaints about the price point now. I don't know that there's much to be done about that. Everything's gone up so much in price. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about that. So for updates, it's a Warmachine Wednesday, so that's when we've been getting a lot of our updates. The big thing that happened today was the store came online.
Yes.
And gosh dang it, I was at work when this happened, so I'm like on the back foot trying to catch up with anything. So the store's back online, and then looking at the prices. So we were talking on Discord with the community. Price point for entry into it, I think for new players is good.
Okay.
I think it is more accessible based on the price point for a core and aux box. I think for players that already have some models or that already have armies, it's weird for us because that's where the costs are a little
They feel higher.
yeah, where you get a little bit more of that sticker shock. But I think for newer players, I understand where they're coming from. So I wrote down here, looking at just a couple that are up on the store right now. So your new Winter Corps starter is 40 points. So it's a 40-point army. And it comes with Savrin instead of Boris, which I think was very smart because Boris is a Warjack caster. He needs a lot of Warjacks. So that caster in itself is, you have to invest more to have a
to support them all.
palatable place. Yeah. So I think Savrin was very smart. The Aux box came to, for Storm Legion, was around 39 points. So if you take your starter and your Aux, you're looking at roughly 80 points or so. And then you add your battle box on top of that, or your battle group box. I forget what they're calling it. That's how you're going to get your 100 point.
Battle
So
group
when you
box right
add-
there. Yeah.
Yep. So all of that together comes roughly to 379.97 US. I think that's US. So I mean, I don't know. We share a game space with 40K people and a little less than $400 to get like FA everything. And I think it's an easier cost to swallow, especially if you're just picking up one of those core aux boxes and you're playing small point games. Like, nobody coming to the game for the first time is going to play a 100-point army. Like, that doesn't make sense, and that's not going to be a fun time. So I think it's very smart on what they did,
Yeah.
and I
mean,
understand why they made the choice that they did.
Right, because you want to get new players in, and you always, first one's free, get them cheap, all that sort of thing, and then you can build up on it. I think maybe one of the only things with the cost point, I haven't poked through it too much, is just, getting those individual models and building it up slowly. Because, you have a 40K army, you're generally building it up kind of slowly. You pick up a unit here, you pick up a Lehman Russ or a tank or whatever here. Although each time you're dropping a lot of money. Now, that said, you can't compare any other game company to 40K, because 40K can do it at once, and everyone else has to follow, like, the rules of the rest of the world somehow. Maybe not the most favorite thing for players to swallow, but that's where they have like models theoretically already they can use, and so maybe that offsets part of that cost.
Yeah,
pain
and
point.
it's a lot that they have to consider too, because at the end of the day, you need new blood in this game in order for it to survive. Like, we can only do so much, but we need this gaming community to grow, and I think this is a step in the right direction. So as a customer of Warmachine PP, now SFG, I've been a customer for almost 2 decades with this company. So with the acquisition, from my understanding, what I've read online, I know everything everybody else does. I don't know anything, any other details aside from what the rest of the world knows at this point.
Oh my God, who invited you? I might just end this call right now.
But just as a customer, I am very optimistic about what I see as a partnership. So PP, for clarification, will still be developing the game when it comes to the rules and the model development, and then SFG is going to take that production distribution side of it, which, we could say PP hasn't always been very stellar in that department. So I think we have 2 companies right now that are coming together that are able to bring two very, very good strengths to the table to help, pump out some, some really good stuff. Like, I'm super excited to see what this game's going to be like over the next year. Again, it's a transition. I don't expect things to be perfect overnight.
No.
It's going to take some time to get online.
No, and for the most part, it seems like people have been fairly open-minded. I mean, you have the grouchy people. They're always just going to be grouchy no matter what, and they'll still follow it along. And if people are playing it and it's part of their community, then maybe they'll get on board or not. But yeah, it does seem like a lot of people have kept an open mind in a way. I mean, I put the thumbnail, right, of like under new management. Like, there's a certain amount of like goodwill you have toward like, okay, you're kind of not starting over, but you're like taking over this franchise that has a lot of good things and has had some bad things to it. It had some, problems that really pissed off people in the community. And so everyone's waiting to see what you're going to do with that. But I think for the most part, people are willing to give the chance to do that, to address those problems, which seem like supply chain issues, maybe a little bit of like STL love, although I don't blame a game company for not just selling off their STLs. It seems absurd from a business standpoint. But sorry, Patty. I love you, but I don't agree with you.
I also have to say, I think, again, the only interaction that I've seen from SFG is obviously like the posts on their website, what's been on Discord and what's been on YouTube or the Reddit AMA. I will say that since this announcement happened, again, as a community member, huge surprise. We're like, oh my God, like our game just died. Like what happened? And I remember so Monday night is one of our Warmachine nights, so we were all getting together, and it kind of felt the same way when Mark IV got announced, I'll be honest. It was the same kind of energy.
Okay.
We're like, okay, it's going to be okay. We're still together. Like, we'll get through it. But I will say, I think SFG's been doing a good job with transparency and communication going through this. So when there's a big announcement or when they post their Warmachine manifesto, Matt Hart, the CCO, I think, of
The chief creative officer, Matt.
Hart. He's been doing AMAs with the community on Reddit, and that's been such a great avenue to be able to talk with, the new captain, so to speak, directly and have that dialogue. And then have that available for people like me who have to work during the day to be able to read and look at that later. So
no, that's really good. Like a really honest first step, transparency. Like that's a very good faith effort, right?
Yeah, and as a consumer of this product and going to this new company, that gives me the confidence that my game is in. Like, I feel it's in good hands. I'm not worried it's going to die or something terrible is going to happen. I didn't play Guild Ball, so I don't have a I don't know. I don't have that memory or experience, so to speak. I'm just going to be optimistic, and hope for the best. But I feel confident, and I feel like Warmachine's going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, at least it can get the benefit of the doubt because of like the good faith efforts being made. So in that regard, time will tell. Are they going to address the supply chain things? Are we going to see it showing up in game stores and game stores that don't like roll their eyes when you talk about Warmachine? Or are they going to listen to community feedback? Just to go back a little bit to some of the other IPs they picked up. Riot Quest and Warcaster were also picked up by them. And so the question became, like, are you guys going to support that? And they did say out the gate in their initial announcement, like, we have it. We're not going to be focusing on that initially. And I know that kind of put some people down, but it also seems like it's really honest because, Steamforged has 40-ish employees. That's not small, but that's not a big company. That's a small to medium-sized company. And so getting like 20 IPs or whatever off the ground concurrently seems like that would be bad, and you're not going to get the highest quality for each of them. So focusing on Warmachine and the Iron Kingdoms, then moving into the paint stuff, because I think the P3 paints are probably the next thing they'd focus on, then they can look at that. Like Undercity's already a board game. They love board games. I could see them really pushing more of that. And then like Warcaster and Riot Quest, one, they're just not as big as the other two things. So I understand them also not focusing on that. But when they do get around to focusing on it, and this is my theory, when they do get around to coming to looking at it, I don't think they'll just cut it off or abandon it. I hope not, because a lot of people love it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I've seen Warcasters, so War Budgies. I know John had to leave, but
Yeah.
that's always been a game that I've always wanted to try. It's just hard to get the models. And I'll be honest, when that game came out, I think Warcaster launched right before COVID. I actually
yeah.
broke up with Warmachine for a year because it was like a bunch of Archons and Riot Quest stuff. It was like it was too much. It was too much. I had to break up for a year.
You need to take a break.
But Warcaster has always been very, very fascinating.
But I did
and
dig the Archons.
they're beautiful models. I'm just tired of seeing them everywhere. I think with Warcaster is maybe they reboot it. Like maybe they just do a whole hard reboot on this IP specifically and try and relaunch it. I think with Warmachine Mark IV, Warmachine now, doing so well and surging, I think SFG really has to prioritize what projects and IPs that they're focusing on right now. And IK RPG and Warmachine, I think, is the projects that are going to be forefront.
Sorry, I lost your audio for a second there, babe.
Oh, that's okay.
You're still hearing her?
Yes, I am.
Oh my
I've lost audio at least 4 times during this, though.
Have you?
Oh,
It was doing
yeah,
so
I can
well.
hear
It's
you
this
guys.
Bluetooth thing, I think.
Is
Yeah,
it
it's definitely the Bluetooth that's just not holding.
But even at Adepticon, Warbudgies set up this beautiful 3-dimensional like conveyor belt factory thing that just looked amazing to play on, and all the players were having so much fun.
Yeah,
Like I want to get in
Warbudgies,
on that.
Event was cool.
It was badass.
Oh yeah, and Warbush just did, and he's a champion of it, and he did his like how to play Warcaster in 5 minutes. Worked amazingly.
I don't know what's going on there.
Just everything's falling apart over here.
Yeah, everything's dying. Only happening when I close it. It's weird.
A hard reboot of Warcaster sounds like a bit of a tough pill to swallow for people, though. Like, what does that mean for people's models? Do the rules get changed? People seem to really like them.
I would reboot and keep all of the same models.
Oh yeah,
Like,
keep
don't do
everything the
that
same.
again.
But yeah, I think.
I think a lot of companies.
Oh, go ahead, Tommy. Sorry.
You go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. I think a lot of the companies, they like to see a clean slate and, we're going to start approaching, model production in this way. And we're going to, but I think a lot of players are like, man, I just painted this. And some people paint 50 models a day, like I've seen, like, who is it, Flo here, or you watch Ash from Guerrilla Games or something.
Oh, yeah.
Guys are beasts, right? It's like, it takes me forever to get through something. When I finally painted something, I feel pretty cool about it. And then they're just like, yeah, you might as well just set that on the shelf. That ain't going anywhere. It's like, oh, man. And
No,
I think
I
a
don't
lot
think
of
that
players
they
feel
would-
bad about
let's-
that. But I think companies
Yeah.
view it the wrong way.
Yeah, I don't think that I wouldn't think like to scrap the line. I guess by reboot I mean, and this comes from a place of love. Like this comes from a place of love, everybody. Again, as a consumer of the PP products and the games, the announcements for their games or new editions, I just like Mark IV. I'll take that because that's a recent one. The announcement it didn't excite me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I think marketing and kind of getting that oomph and excitement is something
Yeah, I know what you
SFG
mean.
can really help with. So with a reboot or relaunch, that's kind of what I'm thinking is marketing, like just start over, keep the game, keep the rules, keep the model, but let's be confident in this thing, let's be proud of this thing, and let's get people hyped up to play this thing.
Oh, darn it. It's still
John in
figuring
the
out.
chat mentions, I'd rebuy my entire Warcaster army if it was in plastic or metal. So if they did a relaunch that focused maybe more that direction, then I could see more people being excited. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
I mean, it does seem to already be revivifying the community, but I mean, we're all talking about it. But I'm hoping to see like maybe more people looking into Warmachine going forward. Mini Crate was one of the other things purchased. So
I
that's
kind of liked Mini Crate, actually.
well, it's twofold, right? On the one hand, Mini Crate's super interesting because you can make all kinds of fun experimental models. But then they always make Mini Crate playable in like Warmachine and Riot Quest. And so does that contribute to the SKU bloat problem?
Well, the mini crate was usually just resculpts of stuff, like creative resculpts.
That's true. They did.
And so, like, yeah, you could just, you know what I mean? It's not like a whole different Warcaster with his own rules. It's just sort of like, oh, you can use this version instead. That's cool.
I
And a lot of them were
forget
very cheeky.
Yeah, I forget what podcast I heard this on or YouTube. I'm sorry. I'm going to loosely quote it. I'm sorry, I can't give you credit because I can't remember where I heard it. But they said that with miniatures, with hobbyists, especially for painters, you have to look at the model more than just a play piece. So as a player, I might not be inclined to pick up the mini crate because I'm like, oh, I already have this piece. I already have this guy in my army. Like, why do I need this? So I think the appeal of the model to that branch of the community and the hobbyist is really, really important. So I think that's a huge appeal of mini crate. And I'm glad that they're not really pausing with that and they're still going to move forward with those models because there's some incredible looking models.
Yeah, I like that too.
There were some really cool ones. I did like that. So I haven't checked in on Mini Crate in a while. I don't know if that subscription is getting interrupted or if that's just continuing on as is. I don't know if you happen to know.
I don't have a subscription. I should
honestly,
probably
the paint and
start
chat
picking up one.
actually, I think, started with you painting Mini Crate models.
Yeah, it might have. Sorry, what were you saying, Erica?
Oh, I was going to say, I don't have a subscription. I probably should. I think, I don't know if anybody in chat or anyone that's hanging out with us does that can yay or nay if their subscriptions are still good.
Thomas said he just got his Mini Crate models today. So I guess
sweet.
Continue. So yay,
Awesome.
They know. See, they know. Good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I really enjoyed Company of Iron when it came out. Did you ever play that one?
I did. I actually own 2 copies of Company of Iron.
I hope to see that come back because it's kind of it's like the Kill Team equivalent or whatever. I don't know if it would be, if they did do a relaunch, if it would be as a miniature game or as a board game.
Man, I would say it is a mini game.
I would
Board
love to
game's
keep
just a
it.
different animal. And the mini game, I would make it play faster.
It did have that problem, especially when they added
Yeah.
the board rules from the magazine.
I just make it where the games fly by super fast, and I think people enjoy it more.
Yeah.
I also liked Company of Iron. I loved the idea. I am still iffy on the execution of it. I think there is something there. I think there is a good nugget of gold there. But that would be another IP I would like to see relaunched because Company of Iron is a lot of fun. Fundamentally, I just think the execution was I don't know. There's a reason we stopped playing it a bit after it came out.
Yeah, and we kind of dealt with that too because it seemed like, oh, this is really cool. We did our little Christmas special
Yeah, we did the
one.
Christmas one where the Grimkin were trying to take Christmas Town from Kador.
Christmas Town.
And then you guys ate the table whenever it was over.
But it was a really cute game, and it seemed, from a price point standpoint, if you're looking at that, maybe a good entry
I thought it was
point
a cute game.
for people. It was a cute game. A good entry point for people because it's no warcasters, no big jacks. You're just playing more infantry stuff. Like I really liked that focus. It was like the other guys, not just the big heroes playing. So I do hope they support that.
something where you didn't have to put a warcaster on the table. And you could just sort of exist in the world. Like, it's almost like a step in between Warmachine and the IKRPG, you know?
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. I think, and it kind of reminded me of the old Skirmish, not to bring it back to Mordheim, but that was my very first tabletop game that kind of got me into the hobby. And prior to that, I was big into, we're gonna roll it back, guys, the late 90s, early 2000s, but like the RTSs that came out on PC, like that's
Like Warcraft
kind of
3.
what Warcraft 3, StarCraft, like all the bangers, like Civ, all the classics. And I think the skirmish games is a good way to introduce people to like this genre. And yeah, Company of Iron, I hope comes back in some sort of form.
Okay, TNT poll adds, like, Company of Iron gave you an opportunity to create your own story within the IK setting. Also, sorry, audience, I know there's a lot of chat in there. I'm trying to catch what I can, so I apologize if I'm not reading all of the comments. So,
Hey,
also,
Crimson Raven.
Also, thank you, Paul, for being my wonderful moderator. I meant to introduce you in the beginning, but then I got distracted. We're like, Warmachine, and then I just kept going. Undercity. Did you play Undercity?
I did not. I wanted to. I think somebody in our area owns it. I don't know who. And then there's like Witchwood or
Widower's Wood was the other one.
Widower's
yeah.
Wood. Okay, gotcha.
I didn't play that one. We did play Undercity. I think the game got horribly maligned because the game is actually really super fun, and I really like the movement mechanic in it.
Well,
it was just ugly terrain tiles, and everyone was done with it the second that happened. What?
It was the board.
The board, yeah.
Like, that's the thing that everyone got upset about. Everything else about the game was really cool.
So, and since it is a board game, I could see Steamforged coming out with a special, I don't know if they do it as a Kickstarter because they do a lot of crowdfunds, or if they would just relaunch it and then maybe beautify the game a bit.
Oh, I would say keep the game almost the same, except for let the missions be a little more customizable. And then instead of just that board where you place little blocks to show where you can't go, make it a tile placement where you know, like a dungeon crawler, almost like a Hero Quest or
one of the Cthulhu
something like that.
Mountains of Madness. Doesn't it play like that?
Mansions of Madness is a build as you play.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, something like that, or Descent, or, you know, like make it a game like
There's
one
a
of
Lord
those,
of the
and that'll probably
Rings
be my
game that has
favorite.
something just like that.
Okay.
And even Betrayal at House on the Hill, it's when you're exploring the house as you go. Lots of board games have that.
Yeah, I would like a crossover board game, similar. And maybe this was like that with the other board games, but I like Blackstone Fortress is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy me some Blackstone Fortress, but it'd be cool to be able to, like, I don't know, put Helith in some sort of like board game environment with, I don't know, Andy likes Boomhowler and Dan's playing Sabrith. Like, I don't know, just put those characters together in some sort of game board environment campaign thing and see what happens. I think it would be fun.
It could be an interesting way of also like letting you use your old models or models you just enjoy.
Yeah.
I play multiple games with them. Oh, let me break my little.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like, get more bang for your buck with them.
Getting kind of animated in your speeches
I guess
there.
so. They also purchased High Command. I own the game. I've never played it. That's the card game version of Iron.
You owned it. You gave it to me. I own
Did we
it
give
now.
it to you? Man, we are not
Did you
card
play
game players.
I pulled it out and I started reading the rules, but I never actually got to play it.
Oh, okay. Did you play High Command, Erica?
We have it in a prize box. I've not played it. I've
I know
seen
some
the
people
box.
really love it, and I'm like, cards. Like, okay, so I love to print the cards for my war games. Freaking hate playing card games. Like, I've played Magic. I've played, like, I don't know.
Legend of the Five Rings
Yeah,
is
we
probably
played
the
some of
best
that.
card game ever made, and then that was it. You don't need to play anymore.
I just have a hard time getting in with CCGs, like, for whatever it is. Like, no hate to anybody who does it. Unless you're taking up all the space at the game store. It's fine.
We
So
do
they-
pre-made Commander. That's about as hardcore as we get.
There you go. There you go. So
Like
they
off
don't
the
have-
shelf.
Yeah, like no deck building. That was
Yeah,
the thing I
exactly,
hated the most about playing Undercity, and I loved Warhammer Underworlds. It was the deck building. I hated that part, but everything else was really fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know. All right, to each his own. So yeah, they own High Command, and I could see them coming back out with that again too. Grind was a kind of an interesting pickup because Grind is like a sub game of Warmachine,
I
right?
feel like Grind would make a fantastic board game.
Wouldn't it?
Like a Blood Bowl style game. Like, it would do very well.
Did you play Grind much, Erica? Or at all?
I didn't, but it's fun.
Oh,
You
wow.
guys talk about the grind. So we actually had a grind ball on our gaming table. I had a game against a community member, David Lee. Shout out. He does all the
Nice.
He's running the Warmachine events at Captain Con now. He used a grind ball as his 50 millimeter objective, and that thing is insane and very heavy.
Sorry, I missed a big chunk of that, but I'm going to assume you liked it because you were smiling a lot.
She is not.
Yes, I like heavy ball. Yep.
Heavy ball. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with Grind, like with them picking that one up again. And I know a lot of people would. It's one of those fun things you can do as part of a tournament, as part of a convention. You know, one of those little side games or after like tournament games where everyone can unwind. So I could see.
Yeah,
that.
it's a good way to unwind, and even going to Nova. So Thursday night we treat it like a meet and greet kind of sesh, and that's when we do our 2v2 random team tournament. So it's 2v2, no duplicate leaders or armies, and we pair you up with somebody that typically from a different meta, and we kind of use that as our icebreaker event going into the convention.
Oh, that's
So I
fun.
think more games like that would be a lot of fun. Flo, by the way, your winter core looked beautiful that you're painting.
Oh, thank you. Her winter core that I'm playing. But yes.
Yeah, I have the army. I thought I would take it to Adepticon, and then that didn't happen. But yeah, they're looking fun. The new model size, they're so much chunkier than they used to be, and they're just different.
So it's funny that you said. So Andy and I, we're starting to travel and bring our models on airplanes now, which is its own thing.
Yeah.
We're actually working on very early stages
That's
of a project right now. Again, leaning on to David. We're doing some conversion, engineering videos on how to convert some of these bigger models for home to make it easier to travel. So if anyone's seen the balloon, the blimp, he was able to engineer that where I can break it down in my bag, and it's a lot easier to transport and safer to transport. You don't have the warping issues that you see with ones that are glued together. So that's a project that we're working on that we're hoping that'll help our traveling members of the community with packing their larger models. We're doing a Mastodon video right now.
Ooh, I like it.
That's a big boy.
Yeah, I actually just saw him on the Steamforged store. I was like, hey, that's a pretty cool looking guy.
Yeah,
there's
but
also-
can you imagine having to travel with that thing?
I imagine that just as your carry-on. You're like, this is my child.
Yeah.
Do I need to pay for an extra seat?
Yeah.
Some people in the chat were mentioning bringing back Extreme Colossal Wrestling and Who's the Boss. Now, those were both fairly unofficial, weren't they? I know the wrestling
Extreme
one.
Colossal Wrestling was in No Quarter.
It was in No
Like they had
Quarter, yeah.
official rules for it, but whereas Grind, I think they had brought back Grind.
Yeah.
In No Quarter as well, but it was originally like a boxed board game.
Oh, okay. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, we're actually seeing some of those non-traditional steamroller formats here in the Northeast, and I think Minority Report did a steamroller not too long ago. I think one or two they're hosted, where it was you had the same list, but you had to rotate your leader, or you couldn't use the same leader twice in a day. We did have I think someone did run a Who's the Boss out this way not too long ago, and that's been a lot of fun. And some of those non-traditional, really your traditional steamroller prime formats, sometimes that can bring out a whole different part of your community too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think another one we did was a random, why we got the idea for Nova was we did a random 2v2 steamroller event, and we ran that as our monthly steamroller in the store. And we got new people from the area that we had never met before. It's like, oh yeah, I heard you guys were doing a 2v2 event, so I drove the hour and a half here to play in this. So, yeah.
Well, there's something about
Yeah, I'm
the
a big
team
fan.
format, right? I mean, it's a little less intimidating for people who want to play, hopefully, a good game, but don't want all the pressure of whether or not that's a good game on them.
Yeah, Team Machine's my favorite way to play Warmachine, regardless if it's like a 2v2 format or like a 3 or 5 man team, your traditional steamrollers like that. But yeah, Team Machine, yeah. I'm a huge fan of.
And then lastly, one of the ones, I mean, there were some other ones in here, like Bodger Games, which I don't remember what all they covered, but they bought Lock and Load. Like, they bought the convention, I guess, or the rights to the convention of Lock and Load. So I wonder if we're going to see that make a comeback.
Well, I wonder if it's going to change locations, too.
Oh, like if it'll become UK-based.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it'll still be US-based, but I don't know if it might change location still.
I don't know. I never went to
I'm
Lock and
not
Load.
sure.
So.
Yeah, same. I haven't been. So I think, what is it, Warfare Weekends, kind of, I think, that previously Warmachine Weekend, I think they've kind of took the mantle for that convention specifically. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Lock and Load comes back.
I know. It was kind of a curious one to see on there as one of the official things they purchased. And then one of the other things they mentioned in their official statement is that the Privateer Press Development Team, like you mentioned earlier, is still going to be making the miniatures and developing the rules. Do you think that they might just be doing that on a temporary basis, or is that like, are they folded into Steamforged Games like indefinitely?
I'm not sure. So what I see in my interpretation now is you have your privateer press employees who are still developing this thing and doing the rules and the rules for the models, and then you have Steamforged that's taking on that other, part of the business,
Like the
so to
business,
speak.
marketing, logistics, basically.
Yeah, and I don't. With it being acquisition, I see it more. I think it's been described more as a partnership than just like a straight out buyout. I don't know. I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens. I'm trying not to speculate too much and just take it as it comes. Either be pleasantly surprised or heartbroken. We'll see. But I'll just take it as it comes. The one thing I will say with SFG taking the production stuff and the model, the making the models, producing them, is it allows the dev team to focus on dev stuff. So with Privateer Press being such a small company, I don't know if those devs had to get pulled off of making rules for stuff or developing Steamroller and had to go pack boxes like to mail out to people. So the fact that they can just focus on their strengths and SFG can focus on their strengths, I think is a win-win for the
that's
game,
the way they set it up.
the business, the community.
And that's an interesting point because, again, we're talking about it's not a huge company, and so it would make sense to have like the development team who already is building it, let them do their job, and then they just solve problems, basically, right?
Yeah,
SFG would
exactly.
All right, JP's saying that Erica needs to make wild speculations.
Only wild speculations will be accepted.
Only the
from
wildest. But yeah, no, I'm like I said, I'm optimistic. I'm excited as a customer, as a content creator, to see what this thing turns into. I think it's only going to be good. I don't see any bad. I don't see any red flags. Again, I don't have any beef with SFG or their previous stuff. So I'm Delaware Warmachine. We are rooting for the success of this thing. So.
Oh, people are asking for the conspiracy theories now.
Oh no, Crimson Raven says Warmachine brought to you by Disney Marvel.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Let's not.
Matt. We ain't giving that mouse any more money.
No, we don't need to. No,
Mouse money.
I think there's a lot to be said for, Matt Hart being willing to do an AMA on the subreddit. Jeremy in the chat was mentioning, like, why would he do a subreddit when he could just, he already has a Discord. The Discord has like 9,000 people in it on the SFG Discord. But,
I can't keep. I'm on that Discord, and I can't. I don't know if it's a sign of me getting older or what, but I just cannot stay up to date with like any conversations. I just can't track any conversations on that thing.
I struggle with Discord generally, but yes, and there's just so many people in there. Like, how many conversations are even happening? But I can see people wanting to check out what's going on Reddit. Not everybody wants to be on Discord, so he's crossing out. Like, he's not just staying in his own clique of what the Discord is. He's going on to Reddit, which is like the Wild West. So. That he was willing to do that and have an AMA with anybody from anywhere is a sign of good faith, I think.
Yeah, and again, I think that's great that they're offering that transparency, and they're coming at it at a position of confidence, which is something we haven't always seen historically. So it's exciting. It's really exciting.
And to answer, someone else had mentioned in the chat that I don't think that Privateer had been purchased, just those specific IPs. And that is my understanding of it, too. So, like, Warmachine is not a Privateer Press property specifically anymore. It's a Steamforged Games property, and Privateer is partnered with them to develop it. But Privateer is still its own company and still has things like Monster Apocalypse and Level 7, as you mentioned, Erica, at the beginning. Some of the Facebook questions that had come up when I announced the chat or the stream, people wondering if there will be books again. And in poking through the Steamforged website, I'm not super confident in that. They've got about 8,000 PDFs on their website, which is impressive. Like, a ton of them are free modules for the RPGs, for all their different RPGs and some story stuff. Some of them you pay for, but everything is a PDF. I don't have a lot of confidence they're going to bring back real books, even though I would just love it if they did. I really enjoyed reading those stories.
The one thing I hope that they do, and this isn't like a knock or anything, because I can completely understand why PP may have not been able to do this, is with the boxes, and we talk about the print media and things like that, is painted miniatures on the boxes. I get excited when I see the painted minis and not just the what do you
digital
call
model?
it? The digital renders on there, because it's
Yeah.
like you're putting this stuff up on the shelf next to GW, who's got, like, we know what their boxes look like and other
Right.
game systems. So I hope that that's a change that we'll see in the marketing of this game on the shelves. Again, I completely understand why it couldn't be done before, but it would be cool to see painted minis on the boxes.
Yeah, I could see that doing a lot for it because it just feels fake. I mean, you get a sense of like what is real and isn't. It's sort of almost like when you look at AI art and you're like, yeah, there's something off about
Yeah.
It's
it.
just like
I mean,
grayscale render, right? It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's that thing where, yeah, okay, somebody sure did 3D model that.
Yeah.
Is that even printable? Like, can you even make that, Like,
Yeah, it being real makes a difference. And,
I want to say Kickstarter for a long time, I don't know if they still do, but they had a pretty strict rule against presenting renders. If they're supposed to be real things.
Oh, really?
They don't want you to give renders. They want you to show that it's in fact a real thing.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, like the 2D art looks amazing. Like the art on the Kador Wintercore box with Boris and friends, like sick. The splash art that's in the app is awesome. So I love seeing that stuff. I mean, obviously I love it for the battle reports, but like that kind of stuff gets me excited, and it gives us ideas for our tables and our terrain, because we can, kind of visualize this stuff and these characters in this environment. Oh, good night, sweetie.
Good night. That,
Andy says hi. Do you want to say hi, baby? You're right here.
Oh, I'm on a delay. Okay.
yeah, you're totally live.
I
So
was like, why-
whatever
why-
sweet things you're whispering to Eric,
all
we'll
right.
all hear.
Okay, we're good. We're good. He's got it. The delay is throwing him off.
That's fair. That's fair. You're
We
doing
don't do this
amazing.
often, you guys. So thank you for your patience.
Oh, well. The supply chain issues was one of the main things that people also brought up because, again, it's all 3D prints. Steamforged Games, someone in the comments had also mentioned earlier that there was some issues in fulfillment of previous Kickstarters. Now, I'm assuming they got there eventually because they keep putting out Kickstarters. Maybe someone in the chat can correct me if that isn't the case, and maybe it was just delays. But I feel like they've got to have an infrastructure in place to deal with fulfilling orders in a timely fashion. Do you think they might have like in-house production in the UK, or maybe have keep Privateer's facilities here on the 3D printing and supplement it with stuff in the UK? What are your thoughts there?
So that's kind of what I thought initially, was that PP would still cover down in like the North American region, and SFG could focus on the European, or SPP would focus on like the Australia market, New Zealand market, and North America, and then SFG could focus on the European scene, because I think historically, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that getting models in Europe has been very difficult, historically speaking.
Yeah.
And when we look at the calendar, we got the WTC coming up this August, and I believe list lock for that is in early July, if not July 1st. So some of these cadre that are coming out, or some of these models, like, are the players going to be able to like physically have these models to play them at the tournament, or do they need to augment and alter their list before the cutoff? Because we're already practically halfway through June.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, no, I could see that being a challenge. So what are they going to do if someone's like, well, I should have this model, I might not have it, but now I'm list locked. If that model doesn't exist, what happens to their list if they can't have that model?
I don't think they can play the model. I haven't
They
been
go
to
old
WTC.
school and they just put a base down.
I don't know if
picture
that
of it.
I don't know if that flies at that event. I'm not sure, but if the model like isn't physically there or available, I don't think the player can field that model.
Oh, wow, okay. And so would they be allowed to substitute it, or do they lose that model from their list?
I don't know. If anybody is in chat that's gone to the WTC or knows or is more educated on it than I am, I don't want to misspeak, but I'd imagine it's probably a little more strict at that level than at the conventions here. But
so people might be encouraged to just play it safe and just get models they have in hand and not even.
Yeah. So I think like for our Brine Bloods players out there, I know that the frogs are pretty clutch. There's some really good tech and tools in that cadre that Brine Bloods players, I'm sure, would want to take to that event and field if available. Oh, there's Adam. Adam would know. Hey, Adam. Adam, what happens if you don't have the model at WTC?
Yeah, what happens to your list? Are you allowed to Wait, I'm assuming you can't proxy it, so you'll have to either swap it out or you lose out on those points. You are screwed. Okay. So,
oh no! All right, thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. That's awesome. I mean, that's hilarious. And you did mention Privateer maybe focusing on the Australia and New Zealand market. Someone on chat also mentioned that Steamforged Games currently does not ship to Australia. So I wonder if
it's a couple of places.
Is it?
Yeah, I think Mexico is another area that is another country that can't get models. Yeah, I'm hoping it's a temporary thing and players will be able to order and get product.
Oh yeah, I hope so. I hope they're able to fulfill that. But I mean, a lot of the stuff, like when you look at the website, everything on the website says that the ship date is July 18th. So if you're trying to order online, you're already past list lock date. So there's that.
I mean, I guess if they can get it, like as long as you have it by August, whenever the first day is of the WTC, you're good to go. As long as you physically have it there. But yeah, that's a weird position that I wouldn't envy anybody like being in. That doesn't sound like a good time.
Vassal says, shipping to Australia and New Zealand isn't possible right now, but we're working on getting domestic manufacturing in place, and we'll put out an update when orders are open. Oh, okay. Well, Vassal Minoff knows, so thank you for clarifying that. Michael Gray's happy. Yay. Vassal Minoff. What's going to happen to Minoff? Is Minoff going to come back?
Yeah.
So I have to...
Is Minoff even exist in the game right now?
Well, really quick before you get off Vassal of Minoff, I have to give him a huge shout out. So if you guys see my House Callus models on a battle report or on Facebook or Discord, that is Chris, my amazing painter, and he's been helping glam up my army. So I'm very thankful and for him. So thank you, Chris, for painting up my spooky ghosts.
Excellent. Patty's Parlor, what does Iron Gauntlet look like moving forward? Do you guys do any Iron Gauntlet events?
So at Nova, we have the Iron Gauntlet qualifier. The Nova Masters is a qualifier for that event. So the IG takes place in Warfare Weekend, and that replaced, I forget what the Lock and Load one is. So that's an invitational. You go to events throughout the country, you score points, and then if you get in the top, whatever number of players it is, you get invited to the invitational at Warfare Weekend. You don't know what's going to happen with Iron Gauntlet. I'll be honest. I don't know if it's going to still happen this year at Warfare Weekend. I don't know moving forward what that's going to look like. I don't know if SFG is going to take a lead on that because PP is typically there at the Iron Gauntlet at Warfare Weekend. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Ooh, that will be interesting as far as the the people who are going to each of these events. So they're going to be at that big one. Oh my gosh, it's so hot in here. My brain's melting.
Oh no.
What is it? The big board gaming convention in July or August. The biggest.
Gen Con?
Gen Con. Thank you. They're going to be at Gen Con.
Oh.
So.
Like gaming, not just wargaming.
Yeah, general gaming. They're going to be. I don't know if they'll be at Nova. I don't know what other conventions are lined up for them. They did say they'll be at Gen Con, so thank you, everybody in chat. It's very warm in here. Okay, so yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I know some people were worried about whether or not Doug Hamilton will still be doing sculpts because they love his work, so hopefully he sticks with them. And then, I don't know which games will be left by the wayside. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say the big love to Jug. I just wish nothing but the best for him. He's good people. Had the lovely opportunity to meet him a few times, and he's a beautiful human being. And I just wish nothing but the best for him.
Absolutely. Gosh, any final thoughts here? I mean, I'm hoping that Steamforged will answer some of the questions as to what's going to happen with lore. There was some mention in the chat also that the 2-player starter box will be going to plastic, so we're going to have that high-impact polystyrene, which is what GW uses. I think it's an industry standard at this point. It's good plastic. And so maybe that will open the gates to more and more stuff being plastic instead of resin and metal and all the kind of hodgepodge that we've been getting. We'll see. Anything that you would specifically hope to see with this new changeover, Erica?
Again, I would like to see like the marketing and improve the promotion of events. I love what I'm seeing already with the painted miniatures and the photos that are sharing online. Because again, I think that is a first for us in this edition.
That's a good point. Yeah, that I think is huge. What about? I'm trying to think of like what kind of events. What do you do to bring in new players? I mean, you've got a really healthy meta from where you're at. Have you had much feedback from that community as to what brought them in or what they'd like to see, or any concerns about them trying to get other players into the game where they ran into roadblocks on doing that?
I think something that would help. So the lower point and promoting that, I think, is big. I would love on the steamroller side to see a packet for 50, 75, and 100 points. You can play steamroller at 75 points, but some of these scenarios are so wide it makes it very difficult to play on some of these scenarios. So that would be cool. And then maybe we could, as TOs, we could host a 50-point steamroller with a dedicated packet for that point number. The legendary events that they're doing at conventions, I would love to see that continue. For those that might not know, Privateer Press for the past 2 years has been doing these huge, that's where the giant dragon and the huge wall came from. These huge narrative events, and depending on how those go, sort of dictate the flow of the story a little bit. So that's how we got Kruger working for the 3 armies that he works, because of the result of the narrative. The press ganger program, of course, that was always big. I think having that community, not necessarily leader, but group and goal and vision's important. And there's tools out there where if you are interested in this, you do not have to do this alone. We have community members that we will make the drive. You need clocks, you need terrain to help with your event. Like we will do that. And yeah, I mean, it just takes 2 people that are passionate and love a thing to, start that spark and go from there. But I guess my advice would be for, just networking, and don't be afraid to reach out.
Sorry, me losing you again.
No, it's okay. That's okay.
Blank. But the chat's getting it, so that's important.
Oh.
There we go.
But,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big thing. And again, for like marketing, it would be great if SFG was able to produce stuff we could hang up at our stores, like to advertise the game, and like the posters that GW has, something similar to that would be really
having
cool.
Banners at a convention even, so you can find them. Oh, God, absolutely. A lot of people are like, bring back the press gangers. I don't think that's as easy as it sounds, but it would be really nice to see that kind of support. I do wonder if they look more to the online community now at this point. I mean, what you're doing, I would hope they support that a lot, to say, okay, well, you are doing like tried and true, and your team and other channels who are making like battle reports for Warmachine, they're doing a lot to build the community, because people who haven't made the jump to try it or try a tournament or something like that can at least have some idea of how to play. Like battle reports are amazing for doing that.
It's really just for us, it's like really this project, Tried and True, was just an offshoot of Delaware Warmachine. This is really a labor of love. It's just something that we're passionate about. We love that it brings us together, and if that's something we could share with the community at large and help, replicate that feeling and community to the Warmachine players at large. That's a beautiful thing, you guys.
It is. I also remember way back in the day when we had journeyman leagues. Is that even a thing anymore?
So there are like slow grow leagues in the in the app. So again, I'm gonna lean on the community on this one. And I'm just going to use our Journeyman League as an example. There's a bunch of homebrew campaigns that are out there online, and you can take like little nuggets from each of that stuff and kind of make a new document that fits your gaming group or fits what you're trying to do. So when we did our Journeyman League, we had a combination. It was slow grow, but it wasn't just playing the game. We had hobby challenges every week, like paint a model, paint a unit, paint somebody else's model. And then we had battle challenges throughout each week where we would add an additional rule, like, okay, you get a bonus point if you trample over a model this game, or you get a bonus point if you throw, just to kind of incentivize it and slow grow it. And I think week 7, we introduced a death clock. We just had it on the table. It wasn't a loss condition, but just so players were used to having that on the table. But there's stuff like that that's out there. If what you're seeing in the app or what's being made at the company isn't your jam, just like take that and change it to what works best for you and your team.
Well, out here the biggest challenge is get a team, like know anyone else at all willing to play the game with you. But I don't know, maybe I can press gang somebody.
Yeah, so I would say, so something that helped us, and not to plug it, but I will just briefly. Our very first podcast project is a 5-episode series. It's not super long. You find on YouTube or Spotify or wherever it's at. And it's our story, how we grew our meta, where we started with 2 players and ended up growing so much where we actually have 2 different venues we play at during the week because our community is so big. We don't fit in one of those communities. So we play Monday at a location and then Tuesday at a different location. Getting out there and being seen,
wow, that's cool.
maybe, thank you, maybe getting out of the game store. So we play at a brewery on Monday, and the brewery is popping, you guys, or network with other communities. Like
drinking and wargaming? I never would have thought that would
beer
go together.
machine. But the group that we play with there on Monday is a chess club. So it's like they have a community of people who play like strategy games. And then Tuesday night, we're with a 40K group. So you can kind of network that way and share chess clocks, coincidentally, or like share terrain, right, with the 40K guys. And that'll help lighten the burden. But yeah, it really just takes 2 people to play this thing out in the open, and people are curious, and answer their questions. Yeah,
especially if you're coming in with like painted models, and that kind of attracts people too. Of like, what's going on over here? It's interesting.
And 3D table, like 3D terrain, that'll attract people too.
Parlor, he was asking what Erica thought of Brawl Machine and other fan-made rules.
So Brawl Machine is great. So say we will about the line of sight folks or whatever, you really have to give them their kudos for creating a fan scaled down version of this game that really brought a lot of people back into it or trying it out. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, you can take these journeyman leagues and things that are in the app and then alter it to what caters to your crowd.
Yeah.
Or talk with a neighboring TO and be like, hey, I'm trying to put this together. Like, can you guys, what do you think? Is this something? And then work with them. And then,
do you guys get reached out to fairly often by other, like, people maybe across the country asking like how they can build up their own meta? Like, has that happened?
Yeah, actually, more common, more frequently than you may think. We so we have a pretty active. Yeah, no, it's great. We love it. And it's really an honor, really. And so Discord, we have a pretty active community on there. I got to shout out to Tyrants for running the North American War Table League. That thing's great. But we have Ice King on there. We do he does painting challenges. We've got there's a lot on there. There's our Facebook group. There's our YouTube. There's our email. So there's numerous ways to get a hold of us. If you get an answer, it's either myself, my brother, Paul, Andy, or Dan that responds to that frequently.
Excellent. That's That's actually really cool. Because one of the things, like when you read White Dwarf magazine for GW, like they have their bunker, and that's an international bunker. They give you updates through the magazine. But I mean, it seems like what you guys have there is, you know, a place to share game stories, build up rules, come up with campaigns, share those ideas. So definitely, if you are a Discord type of person, I definitely recommend joining the Tried and True Discord as a cool community to talk to other TOs as well as other players, yeah?
Yeah, and then we even, if you're interested in doing content creation for the game, so that's something else that's been really cool, is seeing all these new and returning podcasts coming back and YouTube videos. It's super exciting to see more content for Warmachine. We do a lot of networking and correspondence with other content creators on our Discord. So if you're interested in like learning video software, or like I want to film a battle report, how do I do that? We have a space for that. If you're trying to learn strat, we have a few WTC players on our server that'll actually do like a shop talk session on Discord, and it's an open forum Q&A. So if you're trying to like up your game, those are fun Friday night sessions. So it's a lot going on, but it's really exciting to see other community projects popping up. It's really cool.
No, I love it. It seems like this format, it seems like the game is in a place right now where everybody who knows about it is actually kind of willing to give it another look. And so if that can be capitalized on, and there's some fun rule sets and the models are accessible to people, I could see Warmachine having a really nice resurgence. So here's hoping.
It's definitely a great space. The community is very open and welcoming. And I'll quote Dan. I've quoted him this a few times. It's very profound when he said it. If you make it just about your community, just about the game, it becomes too transactional to be sustainable. So the game is what brings us together, and that's our catalyst or commonality. But that's and we enjoy playing it. Of course, it's a hobby, but we're very much community first, game second. And when you care about people and you care about the community, it just it's just a more welcoming, kinder space.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's kind of what a resurgence to Warmachine, and I wonder if that under new management banner is kind of one of the things people will look to it as, is like, oh, is this now going to be a friendlier space? Even if it has already been one with Mark IV, that reputation hasn't been shaken up enough that where now I think it actually might be, you know? Even though, Privateer was only so responsible for like how the community got as far as a reputation, but yeah, I look forward to seeing what happens. It would be nice to see it be have a much healthier like con presence and tournament presence, and you guys are definitely doing yeoman's work to make sure that happens.
Well, thanks. We're really excited, and we're gonna get more pictures online. We're gonna set up our Five Fingers table that we're working on for Nova, and be able to share that with you guys. There's still tickets available, so if you want to come and hang out with us in DC, and if you don't want to bring armies out, we do have community members that donate armies, Mark IV and Legacy, that you can sign out while you're in the Warmachine area. So if you don't want to travel with your miniatures, totally understandable. You could just sign out an army and come roll dice with us.
That is such a brilliant idea. It makes life so much easier for folks. So.
Thank you.
So, all right, Erica, well, we could probably call it here. Thank you so much for joining us for this and getting, being able to get your take, especially since you are so plugged in now to probably the largest Warmachine community right now, at least the one I hear about.
Thank you.
But, I mean, you've done so much positive stuff, and like, with these new changes, it seems like there's a lot of reason to at least be cautiously optimistic, and, I mean, a big fat, we will see what happens. Maybe one day we'll get physical media back. We'll see.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for inviting me on. It's like, oh God, it's crazy. Like, I'm on your show. It's crazy. But Flo, it was great seeing you again. Miranda, I can't wait to hang out with you and Tommy and the gang at the next convention. And yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. And Delaware Warmachine, thank you guys for being awesome. Chat was awesome.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
But yeah, thanks. And Nova, we still have tickets, so come on out and hang out.
Do check out Nova. Just get out there. There's plenty of space, plenty of hotel space. Just get in there, go enjoy it. It's such a good time.
Yeah.
Come hang out with Erica and me and all of the Warmachine team. That'll be fun. I look forward to it.
Cool. And then Miranda, I'll DM you our Discord if anybody's interested and wants to hop on.
Okay, yeah. What I'll do is
that way I can- yep.
I'll make it a pinned comment on the chat once the stream's done.
Okay.
And so if anybody is interested in joining that, then they can do that. Definitely check it out because if you're a Warmachine person, this is the community to be plugged into for sure. Oh, it's
All right, thank
Wizard.
you.
Thank you. All right, you guys have a good
thanks.
night. Thank you so much, Erica, for joining us again with the Tried and True podcast. Check out their battle reports. Check out their Discord. Just follow what they do. They're great people, and we need more of them. So,
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
all right, we're going to be signing out in the live stream, and yeah, we'll be chatting a bit in there if you want. So, end of stream.
Okay.
See you in 2 weeks, guys. Barry, cover me. All right, guys, this is it. Copy that. No more sandwiches, Barry.
What's wrong with this place? I'm in the west corridor. I'm right outside the generator room. I'm out of bullets. Oh, Barry.